Coach's Corner with Coach Heck and the infamous Coach Patrick King. You're stuck with me, man.
I'm stuck.
You are stuck with me. I ain't going anywhere.
There's a lot of people that are jealous of me for sitting here, and there's some people that there's a little sympathy going on at the same time.
There's more people that are sympathetic to you. I'm just saying that much right now. Ron, you know you're second in the state in tees.
When I go talk to Turkovich at the scores
Get
table,
a picture.
I said, get as many pictures as you can.
And you ain't that good. The scouting report said you were pretty good. You ain't that good. Oh, man. Are you kidding me? Yes, I am not kidding you. I just love that intro. That was really from one of our early shows as we were, just kind of getting into this and new at this. Now we're seasoned veterans, and we don't mess around like that.
No,
now this stuff is totally serious.
It's all scripted.
And it's about sports.
Yeah.
It's about sports. It's not about anybody's personal life. Your face looks beautiful. Speaking of personal life,
I'm 2 weeks away from chemo phase.
Your chemo face is now cleaned up, and the medical diagnosis is you're going to be with us for another 40 years, right?
Yeah. Now it's not the chemo face. It's
just your face.
It's just the face. But
face.
Now I've got an arthritic hip that I have to deal with. So it's hell getting old.
No, it's the golden years.
Is that what it is?
It's the golden years, man.
Golden.
I have a neck that's I'm ready to take my head off and just chop it off because my neck. I have arthritis in my neck. Obviously, you mentioned
you look like Lurch on the Addams Family.
No,
and stuff like
I got to turn my chair, but. So
right.
No, it is what it is, man. And we're so happy to be here on President's Day to chat it up with y'all from the great Bar Louie's. I mean, what can you say about Bar Louie's, right?
They've taken good care of us, and my gosh, it's such a nice place. It's nice. It's clean.
The ambience is really cool.
It's still relatively new, but it's very well taken care of. I mean, the people downstairs are just fantastic, and Tuesday night's burger night. That's for sure.
Oh man,
and
the
it's
food
packed on Tuesdays. That's for sure.
The food is great. We have a great show planned tonight. We're going to talk a little bit of NBA All-Star Game. Boo. We're gonna bring the great Bodie Bender on board here, the head coach at the Mishawaka Cavemen, 15-6 Cavemen. We're going to talk a little sectional basketball draw and where his team is at. Then we have college basketball to chat it up about. We have some high school basketball to talk about. Some girls semi-states. I know you did a game. I was in Florida this past weekend at a wedding. I go to Florida. It snows. I drive to my daughter's house in Indy.
Yes.
6 inches of snow.
You drove into the snow.
We get to Florida. It's like 55 and rainy each day. I'm planning on, going for a walk on the beach, hanging out, and,
well,
just
we've seen
cold.
that, Daytona, the weather's, they're still trying to figure out how to get 2 races in, and it's Monday night.
Yeah, no, so they didn't get the race in today.
I don't know if they're going to try to run one of them today.
Yeah,
tonight.
No, that's what I thought. Hey, before we get started, let's talk about Tony Letcher and Health Markets Insurance. He's been a main sponsor on our show. Whether you need help with regular health insurance or Medicare, it's time to get the right coverage for the right price. Call Tony at 574-307-8882 or visit his website at tletcher.com. Hahn Funeral Home. So speaking of Hahn Funeral Home now, my son Aaron, a.k.a. Bugsy, works there. He's in school to become a funeral director. The owner is Pat Hahn, and just a wonderful, wonderful human being. So we're eating at a restaurant in Florida. It's called Breakers. It's right on the beach. It's in New Smyrna, and so Aaron sends Pat, because Pat's in Florida too. So Aaron says Pat like a text, hey, on the beach in Florida, blah blah blah. Pat calls him and says, so where are you at? And Aaron says, Breakers. And Pat said, is that the pink building on the beach? And Aaron says, yeah. He said, look out the window. Oh, no. Pat Hahn's on the beach looking out. We're looking out, waving at him.
Oh,
I mean, what's the chance of that happening? Loss of a loved one can leave you with lots of unanswered questions and stress. At Hahn Funeral Homes of Mishawaka, they are there to help. They're awesome. located at 505 West A Street in downtown Mish. You can give them a call at any time. Also, the Black Sedan Band, our bumper music is, you know what? I listen to a lot of podcasts too, and I don't know if you do, but I don't know anybody that has bumper music like we have.
We've got some of the best. That's for sure. I like it.
Well, no. So you and I sit here on the intros when we come back from breaks, and we can't help but just start moving a little bit, right?
Sure. A lot of them have the elevator music.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, we got great. The Black Sedan Band, the band located in Birmingham, Alabama, and then we'll talk about Frick's Driving School coming up in our first break. I'm sure we have some Frick's Driving School games of the week.
Road games of the week.
But so let's just get started on this.
And before we do, Scott, why don't you tell people at home that are listening to us live how they can talk to us? Tell the chat line, all the different chat lines, and I know there's a text there if they're on YouTube. They've got all kinds of different options.
Yeah. If you are watching on YouTube live, drop a comment in the chat. We'll get to it at some point this evening. If you are watching us on any other medium, text me 214-945-4134, and we'll get to it, like I said, at some point.
And you are in Denver today, is that right? You started in Orlando?
Yep. Oh, we already have a comment. It's from Chloe.
Okay.
Hey, Chloe.
Hey, Chloe. What's up?
He'll be home tomorrow.
Yes.
He'll be home tomorrow.
I'll be home tomorrow.
That's right. All right. NBA All-Star Weekend in Indianapolis.
Yeah. So I think on Friday, I'm flying out of Indy and I'm going through the airport, and all of the signage talking about the All-Star game, the 3-point shooting contest between Steph Curry and one of the WNBA players,
Sabrina,
the dunk contest.
Sabrina? Yeah, I posted something on Instagram with her. Yeah.
Yeah, and all of and then the game, they had a court.
Did you see the court?
Yes.
Yeah,
Did you get a dunk in on one of those rims?
I came through there about a month ago and it was already up.
Yeah, it's amazing. And all of the advertising and everything, and made me really think about it a lot. And then coming back last night, as the All-Star game was being played, and then following through and doing some research on it. I mean, 211 to 186.
Yeah, they scored 200 points.
Well,
one team.
They broke a record, obviously.
Does the scoreboard have a 2 on it? I didn't watch it.
I don't know, and I saw a little bit of it, and the NBA commissioner was talking about what they need to do to get more effort into the game.
Yeah, he is not a happy person right now.
He's not a happy person.
He is not happy with the way things went.
Well, because there's no effort on the defensive end whatsoever. And people paid a lot of money for those tickets.
Sure.
Now, I know I think there were 66 3-point shots made in the game, and I know people like to see offense, but people also like to see somewhat of a competitive basketball game.
Yeah.
Because that's what it's billed at. It's billed as an all-star basketball game. It's not billed what the NFL has, flag football. It's not flag basketball. It's a regulation basketball game.
It resembled flag basketball. That's for sure.
Well, yeah, because there was no effort on the defensive end.
Right.
And anybody could do what they wanted to do. Now, from the player standpoint, they say this. They say, we don't want to become Ray Fosse. Now, do you know who Ray Fosse is?
Sure. Yep. He was the catcher with Pete Rose.
God, are you so smart? I get nothing by you, man.
Yeah, I got
nothing
that.
by you, man.
I got that one.
No, in baseball All-Star game, Pete Rose took out Ray Fosse because the game was tight and Pete Rose wanted to score the run. And Ray Fosse was never the same for the Cleveland Indians the rest of his career. But the Major League Baseball All-Star game was and still is highly competitive because, and I don't think this is the case now. I think the Players Union got this taken out, but for the longest time, the winner between the National and the American League got to be the home team in the World Series.
Yeah, they got if there was a game 7, they got 4 of the 7. Yep.
Yeah, so there was significance to who won that game.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the significance to who wins the NBA All-Star game is cabbage, cash flow greenbacks. And I mean, do those players even, if it's, I don't know, if it's 200 grand to those players, isn't that money? I mean, it is money. Money's relative.
I think I remember seeing the number 750 somewhere at one time.
Is that
Yeah.
right?
And that's relative
Well,
to you and me.
Right. Sure. Now, the whole point of that, yeah, because we're buying a ticket to that ball game. Now, I watched maybe 5 minutes of it yesterday, and I can't remember if it was the second quarter or third quarter. I know the score was already in the hundreds, and I go, are you kidding?
Did you see Luka jack one up from three-quarter court, just kind of in the middle of the game?
I saw somebody threw one off
hit
the
the
top
of the backboard.
Well, I saw it when the two guys played pass back and forth. I saw that live.
Yeah,
and everybody just kind of got out of the way of them.
Everybody just got out of the way.
It looked like a Globetrotter game when the Washington Capitals were
the Washington
Generals.
This might be a good point for Magic Mind. The Washington Capitals. It's a hockey team.
That would be Alexander Ovechkin's team.
Yeah, it's a hockey team.
Well, you know what I mean. But the whole point of it wasn't worth watching. I would have been up. I even thought to myself, I would have been upset if I'd paid money to go watch this game.
So now the commissioner has to say, what kind of caveat can I put out there to make this more of a competition type of game where both teams compete? And I don't know. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's in the finals, like baseball, the winner gets the home court advantage.
And the other, I don't think the teams will like it, but that's an option.
Well, and I don't know if the players' union would go for it, but
the whole thing amounts to it made their little skills test that they did the night before, the
more
3-point
relevant
shooting. It made that part being the feature, and no one will go to the game anymore because if they know that's what's going to happen at the game, nobody's going to go.
Well, no. So if you watch the game, if anybody watching, if you watch the game, please make a comment, because I don't know. Maybe fans enjoy that. I don't know, but as a ex-basketball coach, and you're an ex-basketball coach, I don't, when I hear players say, well, I don't want to get hurt, to me, and I think this is kind of true. To me, when you are playing not to get hurt is when you're going to get hurt.
Well, and I know they play harder than that at practice. They play harder than that
in exhibition games.
They play harder than that in the summer when they're just playing pickup games.
Yeah.
Sure they do.
Yeah.
They play harder than that.
So I would like to know from our listenership tonight, if you can chat it up, type it in, or however you can reach us, because that might be enjoyable to some people.
Well,
I don't know.
To be quite honest, my wife had the People's Choice Awards on for a little bit last night, and I didn't try looking for the remote control. I went ahead and
stop.
Watched
stop.
Lenny Kravitz.
Stop, because Becky is watching this, and you're trying to get points.
Yeah, well, maybe.
Stop.
But
I know.
I did watch part with Lenny Kravitz on it. It was kind of nice.
Here's a question for you guys.
It was a whole lot better than the ball game.
Yeah, fire.
Isn't in this kind of the league that Adam Silver has put forth, though? I mean, he's been all at the forefront of the player empowerment stuff, and I mean, this is kind of reaping what he's sowed. So I mean, he dug this hole. He's going to have to get himself out of it. So I don't really have a whole heck of a lot of sympathy for the guy. I was just curious what you guys thought.
I'm just curious to see what he's going to do next.
Well, I'm not concerned about him. I'm concerned about the fan, and that's where I'm at with this, because maybe I'm the old school curmudgeon. How about that word? Maybe I'm the old school curmudgeon who doesn't like it, but maybe millions and millions and millions of other people like it.
Maybe they do. Well, they did make
it. I can't stand it. I mean, I haven't watched a second of the NBA in probably 6 years, just because it's not entertaining.
Well, you're not a curmudgeon, right? So what would you be called? A millennial? Are you a millennial?
I'm like right on the border of millennial and Gen Z.
Oh, okay.
What website you look at?
Okay, so and you are, I mean, you're a straight up basketball. I mean, you're a high school, a former player. You're around your pops all the time when he coached. So you're a basketball. I would call you a basketball aficionado because you know the game. And if you say you don't like the NBA, I can, I mean, I can dig that. But I do watch the Bulls. I'm a Bulls fan, and if the
Right.
Bulls are playing, and I think Billy Donovan, the coach of the Bulls, gets those guys to play hard.
Right.
I don't think they're any good, but I think he
and
gets them to play hard.
And back to the All-Star game, if you think they did make a change this year, they didn't have Team LeBron and Team whoever else, Anthony Davis or whoever it was last year, where they picked their own teams because they didn't like the results of the game. So now they went back to East versus West, and that the game itself
No, it's awful.
was not an improvement.
It was awful when MJ and those guys played. Those guys competed. You know why? When Larry Bird and Magic and those guys played in that game, they competed because they had pride.
They had their fun like in the second and third quarters, but when it got to the fourth quarter,
No, when it got to nut cutting time,
it's okay. It's time to play.
They competed.
Yeah, they played.
And anytime they played against each other.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, I heard stories of the first Dream Team when Patrick Ewing and MJ and all those guys, Magic, Charles Barkley, they said that the scrimmages were incredible.
They've got films that I think it was when they were in Barcelona. They
Yeah,
were practicing. Chuck Daly had to try to call it off because it was getting too serious.
because each one of them had pride.
Well, you had Jordan on one side and you had Magic on the other.
And Larry Bird with a bad back.
They had lined up with each other and they were going at it.
No, because they had individual pride in who's better.
Well, you had Karl Malone on one team and Barkley was on the other. They were basically just playing shirts and skins at practice.
Yeah, exactly.
And you could go look that up on YouTube. Those are good ones.
And pretty much every person on that team, except for Christian Laettner in the NBA Hall of Fame.
Probably.
And he had just come out of college.
Yep.
I think he was still in college. He was the one amateur.
Yeah.
And they said, and obviously the big controversy with that team was they came out and said, we didn't want Isaiah on the team. Or it might have been MJ that said that because of the episode where when the Bulls beat the Pistons and Isaiah led the charge to walk out before the game was over and wouldn't shake hands and all that stuff. But they didn't want Isaiah on the team. Now, was Isaiah good enough to be on that team? Yeah. Oh, yeah. Sure he was.
The Bad Boys beat those guys in the late 80s.
Yeah.
So
Michael still hates Isaiah.
Yeah.
That's part of it.
There's still a grudge. Listen, why don't you guys go to commercial? I'm going to get Bodie Bender on the line here, and we're going to talk some high school hoops. We have sectional pairings to look at. We have where Mishawaka is. If you're from out of town and you're listening to this, Mishawaka, South Bend, right next to each other, and Mishawaka is having another good year. I think they won 20 games last year. Of course, I have something into that team because you and I coach there.
That's your guys. That's right.
All right, listen, take a break. I'll get Coach Bender on.
All right, Scott, tell us a little bit about your commercials that you've got.
All right. I got one comment real quick to get to. It's from our guy Q. He said, from a Gen Xer, watched maybe 5 minutes of that All-Star exhibition, reached my limit, went and found classic 80s TV to watch on YouTube.
Well, that 90s, that 90s thing would have been just fine.
Yeah, it's a very very on brand for Q, I think. Before I play the video commercials, I'll tell you guys about magicmind.com/Ron. It's a memory aid that is not a pill that you take. It's something you put in your drink and add to it, and it helps your cognitive function. So go to magicmind.com/Ron. Use the code Ron, get you 20% off. And then Mailrag is our performance apparel partner. That's a lot of P's.
I see.
So go to mailrag.com. It's mailreg.com/IND Coaches Corner. And that's coaches with no E because it's possessive, but I couldn't put a apostrophe in the URL. But use IND Coaches Corner. That promo code gets you 10% off. It's basically free shipping. It's good stuff. Hoodies, quarter zips, polos. Good stuff. I'm wearing a different one because I always wear my sweatshirt and it's always in the laundry when I take it on the road. So go there. And then while you're on YouTube, leave a comment in the chat, subscribe to the channel, leave a thumbs up on the video. It really helps us get the show out. We're at from 2 weeks ago, our Say Something Nice About Purdue segments pushing 4,000 views. So that's awesome from everybody that's seeing the channel, and hopefully we get people to come back. So hitting the thumbs up button on the channel really helps us get to the front page of YouTube. So we will be right back.
Andy Kern is a real estate broker with Weichert Realtors Jim Dunphy and Associates. The office is locally owned but has big company resources behind it that many smaller real estate offices just don't have. Whether you're selling your fifth house or buying your starter home, Andy can help. He has 6 years of real estate experience and is a lifelong St. Joe County resident. Jim Dunphy and Associates has decades of local experience. Call or text broker Andy Kern at 574-386-4479 for great local service. He is the Colonel. James Carpenter is a real estate broker with Weichert Realtors Jim Dunphy and Associates. The office is locally owned, but it has big company resources behind it that many smaller real estate offices just don't have. Whether you're selling your fifth house or buying your starter home, James can help. James is a South Bend lifer and has 6 years of real estate experience. Jim Dunphy and Associates has decades of local experience. Call or text broker Jim Carpenter at 574-292-CARP. That's 292-2277 for great local service. Frick's Driving School has been named the best driving school in Michiana. Frick's was started in 1960 and is located on Edison Road in Mishawaka. If your child is 15, you can get them started at Frick's. There are multiple instructors available for your driving lessons. Check out the broadcastsport.net main page and click on the Frick's icon to get more information. There you can find out more information and instructions to enroll your new driver. Frick's Driving School, a proud sponsor of Coach's Corner on broadcastsport.net.
Courage Chiropractic and Wellness Center. When your body needs somebody to help.
Hello, I'm Dr. Karch, and I want to invite you to stop by my office on Cleveland Road in South Bend, just east of Portage Avenue. I've been serving Michiana for over 20 years, specializing in back pain, neck pain, headaches, naturally with gentle chiropractic care. Come see me for a free consultation.
Courage Chiropractic and Wellness Center. When your body needs somebody to help.
Oh, man. Are you kidding me? And we are back on Coach's Corner with the infamous ex-head coach of the South Bend Adams Eagles, Madison Bobcats?
Madison Cubs.
Madison, no,
Madison
That would have been so much better.
Madison Cubs.
Oh, no, that's
and
Middle school was the Bears, and the high school was the Cubs.
assistant coach at the great Mishawaka High
Mishawaka
School.
That's right.
Before we go to Coach Bender, let me talk about Tony Letcher again. Thanks to Tony Letcher with Health Markets Insurance. Whether you need help with your health insurance or Medicare, get a hold of Tony, man. 574-307-8882. And then Hahn Funeral Homes, located at 505 West A Street, downtown Mich. You can call us anytime at 574-255-1474. If you're ever involved in any one of those situations where you lose a loved one, they are the best at Hahn Funeral Home. We have the great young head coach of the Mishawaka Cavemen, Bodie Bender, on the Black Sedan hotline tonight. Coach, how you doing, man?
I'm doing well. How are you guys?
We're doing great, man. We don't have to coach any games. We don't have to do anything like that. We can just talk to you guys, man. So we are doing great. Man, it's your second year at the Mish, 35-13, 101-42. Your 8th year overall being a head coach in Indiana, and I see you all the time. I know how good you are. I watch your teams play. I know what a great job you do, man. Talk about, and I know this is going to be painful for you, but you went to Wawasee on Saturday, Lula Favors Ball Club, and you had a chance to win the NLC conference outright with a victory. Talk about that game a little bit for us here.
Yeah, I would say for us, we probably had our best shooting game of the year. I think we shot in the high 50% range. We were 7 of 17 for 3, which I don't know that we've made 7 threes in a game all year. So that was probably the best. They matched us a little bit, did a little bit better in that area. I think they hit 9 threes, but what really killed us was the 13-4 second chance opportunities. And I feel like somewhere in that third quarter, we probably gave them 10 of those. And that just, as I still sit and think about that game, that area of the game still eats me up a little bit.
Yeah, that's very uncharacteristic of your team, because you do have some really nice size for a high school team. Brady Fisher at about 6'4", 6'5". Trey Thomas, maybe 6'4", just very athletic. Cooper Pritchett, who probably had 10,000 views on YouTube with his dunk against the Career Academy, as I saw that from Florida, just rebounds the heck out of the ball. So that had to be that's really uncharacteristic for your team.
Yeah, and that's something we've got to get cleaned up here, this week against Penn and against St. Joe, and then going into a big week next week with it being tourney time in the state of Indiana.
What did the Everingham kid play? Who had been injured for Wawasee?
He did. I think he scored 14. I think Zebarth had like 18. And then his brother Miles a couple times just in transition pulled up from volleyball range and hit a couple deep ones. And it was like, it was just one of those feelings like, oh my, I mean, it just didn't feel like we could do anything right. And they did everything right. It was their senior night. They were revved up. And it was just, and you know how it is. You've been down there. It's just a very tough place to play and go to any night of the week on a long bus ride from Mishawaka.
Yeah, I mean, so we played a couple of times there during my tenure at Mishawaka, and I don't know why that is. I don't know, and Pat, maybe you can chime in on this. I don't know why it seems like it's harder to play at other gyms, because when I was in the North Central Conference, it was that feeling all the time at Logan Sport where it was a cold. It wasn't a great atmosphere to go in and play. And I don't know what the crowd was like, so I don't know what the atmosphere was. But I always felt the same thing, that it was really hard to play at Wawasee.
And the only time I've been to Wawasee to watch games, we scrimmaged Wawasee two or three times when I was at Adams. And I think it was actually when Robbie Berger was over there, and then Phil Mishler were the two coaches when we were there. But I actually liked the gym. I thought it was a good place to shoot. And you said your guys shot the ball well. The rebounding part wasn't the best, and but that's fixable. That's fixable. Yeah, Scott's got the route to get over there. I know all the county roads to get over there too. So I don't even get on Highway 6 to get over there.
Yeah. Well, at least I don't have to ask how much I'm into you for your meal at the Frog, right?
Yeah, I say, did you ride the bus home up, Bodie, or did you say all that home?
I was so mad. I went ahead and came home. I didn't even give him Heck's, I didn't give him his debit card number or anything like that, or the PIN number. So he got off on this one.
No, I told him. I said, you win that conference championship at Syracuse. Here's my card number, man. You stop in at the Frog and have a few on me, man.
I've got some friends that live over there full time. They're in Syracuse, so they have their own seats there at the Frog. I understand.
Yeah,
that.
the Frog's race. So now I think you got a pretty good week coming up. Now tomorrow night you got Penn at home, and then Friday you got South Bend St. Joe at home. Talk about those two games a little bit.
Yeah, so Penn, big. They have some guys that are out, so I don't know what their status is for tomorrow. We're obviously getting ready for them like they're going to play. But, to highlight them a little bit, defensively, they're long. They're going to make it tough to get shots inside. So, again, we're going to have to hit some perimeter shots to loosen them up a little bit. But, they got Trey Miller who can shoot it. Maverick Brown can drive it and finds a way with probably a little shorter frame, but thick in stature to the point where he can get shots up inside. The guys that have been hurt, I don't know if they're going to play. Dominic Bonner is a handful, but he's been out with an ankle, so I don't know if he'll be ready to go. And then Alex Hawthorne can shoot it. He's been hurt, and I'm not sure he's going to play. And then the freshman Biamba hurt his shoulder, so I'm not sure he's going to play. So they're kind of the walking wounded here a little bit, but they got other pieces. Ethan Good off the bench can shoot. Casey Finn has really come on for them here of late. He can shoot it. So they have a few parts that, it would be nice to have one or two more of those shooters over here at Mishawaka if we could have them.
And then you turn around, you've got St. Joe on Friday night.
Yeah, so it's going to be two different contrasting styles where, Penn will kind of slow it up a tad more and run some sets and play some offense where I feel like it's the proverbial Nolan Richardson on Friday night, the old 40 minutes of hell of getting up and down, full court pressuring and shooting it quick against St. Joe. So we'll worry about Penn first, and we got 2 days to worry about St. Joe.
So I thought that St. Joe game last year, and I told you this. I thought that St. Joe game, and especially the overtime period, Konechny missed a couple free throws that could have sealed the deal for St. Joe, and then Anthony Nelson hits that big three at the end to put you in the overtime, and then your overtime you were superb, you were excellent, and I thought that just that 4-minute period of overtime was enough to kind of slingshot your mentality into the sectional tournament at LaPorte, which you then went and just took care of business. And it's been 100 years since Mishawaka won a sectional. And so you go down there or up there and win that. But I thought that St. Joe deal was really huge in getting your mentality right to go win that.
Yeah, I would agree a little bit with that because we had been struggling to that point. We had lost Brady for 3 or 4 games there. And I think for a time period there, we were like, 1-4 at the end of the season, and then we beat St. Joe, and coincidentally, he came back for that game. Anthony Nelson hitting a big shot to send it to overtime, and ultimately us winning the game, I thought gave us huge momentum, huge confidence going into the sectional the next weekend before.
Well, Bodie, the one thing I see with these two, you're playing 2 quality teams this week. Arguably, both of them could be favorites in different sectionals. Penn over at Elkhart and St. Joe over at South Bend, Washington, separate from you. Definitely getting you ready. Let's say a week from now, you're on Monday night and you've lost both these games. Mentally, can your kids, can you use that as a stepping stone, or can they handle the possibility that they can lose both these games and still be ready for a Tuesday night ball game?
Yeah, I think they can. I mean, and Heck can attest to this, just with the veteran guys that we have and the guys that have been there and the guys that went through the gauntlet last year, the sectional. This senior class has been through a lot. They know how to handle a tournament. And they know how to handle getting to a Saturday night. Well, last year was a Monday night sectional final. But we'll take it one step at a time like we always do. We're not going to look by Penn right now, then we're not going to look by St. Joe, and then we're not going to look by LaPorte, and take it one game at a time.
Yeah, I think every good coach really does that. When I interviewed Chad Johnston before the game of your last game against Adams, the question was posed, and the question was posed to you too. Are you going to hold anything back because you might see Adams in the sectional? And obviously your answer was no. We're going to win. We're going to play. We're going to play our guts out to win this game, man. Are you crazy? And,
right.
and Chad Johnston says, oh, yeah, we're going to hold some things out. We don't want to show Mishawaka everything in case we have to play them. I don't think that was the case anyway. I think he played his guts out to try and win. And when you look at your sectional draw now, obviously, I think every coach wants that bye, but I don't know. I mean, you didn't have the bye last year, and you strung it together. So what are your initial thoughts on the draw in your sectional?
I like that Michigan City and South Bend Riley have to potentially go through each other, and let them be on the other side of the bracket from us, and not to go ahead and slingshot Michigan City, past Plymouth. But, looking on paper right now, they're probably the favorite. And then, we've got to find a way to take care of a very scrappy LaPorte team who, at times this year can really shoot the ball, and they put games together where they've shot it well. And then they put games together where it's like, man, they can't buy a bucket. And then, for me, you always get a little bit nervous. The first game, Tuesday night, that's when it seems to be all, your biggest upsets in the state of Indiana for the sectional always happen that first game on a Tuesday night. So we want to try to stay away from that. I don't even care if we win the game by 1. That means we're moving on, and we would play on Friday night.
Yeah, and we would certainly be remiss if we didn't say that the games are at the Cave.
Yeah,
man.
I was
Are you
getting ready to
kidding me?
say what a bonus. The games are. It's a home game for you this year. You win the sectional, and you get the host the next year. Is that how it works?
No, I don't know if that's how it works. I think those were
We're going to go
those
with
were
it.
drawn out before I got there, so
Well-
we were just lucky enough to get it this year.
Bodie, the one thing I was going to ask you is going back to these next 2 games with Penn and St. Joe. Next year, you may, if you have a lot of, you're going to get rid of some veterans. You've got some seniors this year. I don't know who the coach was before you that got that schedule. You need to get that schedule fixed to maybe get some other teams in there. That last week of the season would be one of my suggestions.
Yeah, I think we're looking to try to fix that a little bit.
I
so
would
it's not
move them
so
around, maybe kind of
heavy.
lighten that thing up a little bit.
Geez,
'cause
that guy, the
this
guy
year-
before me.
This year, but the
golly.
guy before
I don't
you,
even want to hear this stuff, man.
I'm just saying, he had his own ways about doing things. You might
I
want
don't even want to
put
hear
your
this.
put your own little trademark on
Hey,
your
he
schedule.
did, man. He got Riley out of the the late part of the schedule. He moved Riley up early, right?
Yeah, I'll take credit for that.
Yeah, I
Sure.
know you
He
did,
put him,
man. I
you
know
said
you
you put
did.
him at Kokomo.
Hey, so now the conference deal, and so I think there's probably also something in the conference deal now, because you tie with Northridge and you tie with your best buddy Derek Deshawn at Concord. So I would have loved to have been involved in that conversation when you called Derek and said, "Hey, buddy, man, you got to share this deal, right?"
Well, I told him, I said, congratulations. You can thank me later, but
Yeah.
I got you Coach of the Year in the conference.
Yeah.
For going ahead and get beat on Saturday night by OSC. And I think he laughed a little bit. But we got to share it. It's tough to swallow a little bit because we had a chance to kind of take care of it ourselves and we didn't. But needless to say, we're still one of the tops in the conference, which is always a great honor and something you don't get every year.
No. And listen, when you print the shirts up, man, it doesn't say co-champion. It says Northern Lakes Conference champion, man. And nobody really knows. But the parity in that league this year was really good. You had a great chance to win it outright. But the parity with Northridge with 2 losses, with Concord 16-3, and 2 of those losses are conference losses. That's 3 really good teams:
Yeah.
Mishawaka, Northridge,
And you haven't even
and
mentioned
Concord.
Warsaw yet.
and then Warsaw. But I got to ask you this question, man. And I've been waiting to ask you this question. And I'm pretty sure I know what your answer will be. But you guys are fixing to play Warsaw, and it's a big freaking game, man. Mishawaka hadn't beaten Warsaw, and they're coming into the Cave. I'm broadcasting the game, and I am expecting to come into that Cave about the first quarter of the JV game and see that thing already start to pack out a little bit and the crowd rolling in and stuff. And when that varsity game tips off, the Mishawaka crowd is kind of non-existent, which really, really ticks me off as an ex-coach there. And I know the current coach, Bodie Bender, yourself, you got to look out there and say, man, where's our crowd? This is a huge game, man, right?
Yeah, a big game. It still had big conference implications at the time. And, Warsaw obviously still had a chance to finish on top of the conference. And I'm really hoping tomorrow night will be different, especially having your crosstown rival coming from about, 4 minutes away, that we could possibly take at least our student section and fill it to the rafters. Now I know where Heck's going to go with this, and I got to be careful because he always likes to promote free tickets for the students. And I'm not going to get on and say that, but if our athletic department wanted to come out and say that tomorrow, I wouldn't be against it.
No, and I know why you say this, because last year you were so excited, and I don't even remember which game it was, but it
I
was.
think it's the Northridge game.
Yeah, the Northridge game, and you got on there. You said, "Hey, free tickets to students." And Dean Huppert, our athletic director, and bless Dean. I thought Dean was really pretty good at doing those kind of things, at trying to maneuver the tickets around, whether it's the elementaries or whether it's the junior high, and to get people in the cave. I mean, this is a great team you got. This is a sectional returning team with veterans, and that place should be packed out a little bit. And a lot of it has to do with the marketing. And I mean, I you know what? I go to a football game, Bodie. I see the little elementary kids form the line for the football team, right?
Right.
From Beager, from Battelle, from all of them. And they used to do it at the basketball games, but I ain't seeing any of them at the games this year. I mean, that's
Right.
another 100 kids and their parents, being at that game. So I am so hoping that tomorrow night people get the message. 2 weeks ago, we had 3,400. We're almost getting up to 4,000 hits on our show 2 weeks ago. So I'm putting this out on our show tonight, man, that you guys, they need to pack it out for you, because I know, and when you're the home team and you play in front of that kind of a crowd, the advantage to doing that, right?
No, there's nothing better. There's nothing better. There's nothing that makes, obviously, Indiana high school basketball any better than packed houses, loud crowds, student sections yelling at each other. That's what makes it fun.
Yeah. Hey, so we got to jump off here, man. But anyway, I want to congratulate you on that conference championship. Your team plays really, really hard. You're giving up under 50 points a game. That's always been a deal, right, Pat? That we always look at.
Yes, that's exactly right.
Under 50 a game, and you got those guys playing the right way. Knock out the rest of this week, and then good luck in that tournament, buddy.
Hey, thanks, guys. Sounds good. Appreciate it.
All right.
All right.
Good luck, Bodie. Nice talking with you, bud.
Yep.
That is the great Bodie Bender, a young coach. He's young, but he's got an old soul. That's how I would describe
He's
him.
old school.
He is old school.
Yeah, he's old school.
He's old school with being young. Hey, I'm gonna do a commercial. Then we got a lot of hoops to talk about, man. I can't wait to hoops. Hahn Funeral Home, again, a major sponsor of ours, Pat Hahn. They stand ready to meet anybody's needs and exceed your expectations when selecting a funeral home. The experienced funeral directors and staff will be there for you every step of the way for all your funeral service needs. Give the people at Hahn Funeral Home on 8th Street in Mish, 574-255-1474 a call, and they will certainly take care of you at a time of need. It's a very sad time for you and your family. Tony Letcher, Health Markets Insurance. Whether you need help with your health insurance or Medicare, it's time to get the right coverage for the right price. Call Tony at 574-307-8882. Black Sedan Band, man. They're the best. It could be time for your Fricks commercial, man.
It's about that time. Scott, you want to give us our little car running across?
Because I know you work for Fricks.
I do work for Fricks.
Man.
There's our car. That's right. If you call Fricks at 574-256-0650, if you got kids here in the area that are 15, they can get their permits and get their driving in there. They've been around for 3 generations now. I know they've been around since the 60s and 70s. And that if you're here in this area in the northern part of the state,
taught me how to drive.
Yeah, you went there, didn't you? And Stephanie. And we're now to the point where we've got parents coming in saying, "Hey, you were my driver's ed teacher," and I'm going,
Really?
"Oh boy."
How many tickets you got?
And they're bringing them back. So I guess we must have done something right. But today I've got 2 teams for our road team of the week, Scott. And the first one's going to be high school girls, believe it or not. And I'm picking Lake Central Indians with our buddy Joe Huppenthal, the coach.
Yeah, the ex Clay head
He
coach.
used to be a coach at Clay. He had a busy weekend, but I tell you what, Lake Central had a great great run. They're going to the state finals here. They're going to play Lawrence Central next week. 2 weeks ago, they went to LaPorte in the regional and beat number 11 South Bend, Washington. This past weekend, they went back over to LaPorte for the semi-state, and they beat number 10 Homestead, and they beat number 13 Noblesville, and they are ranked 14th. So you've got number 1 Lawrence Central and number 14 Lake Central in the big girl tournament next.
So who did Lake Central beat in the semi-state?
They beat Noblesville, which was, and everybody kept saying whoever wins down at Noblesville, whether it's Westfield, HSE, Noblesville, Carmel, because last year it was the same situation because they had to play Fort Wayne Snyder, and they did get to the final 2 and lost to BNL. So this is the second year in a row that you've had a team from that semi-state come up here to this area, and this year Lake Central beat them. And this is 2 years in a row they've been in the final 4. This year, now they're in the final 2.
Oh, that's great.
So good job.
Congratulations,
good
Joe.
job for Hupp. He's got 5 girls that score in anywhere between 9.5. Molosnik is 8.8. Nadia Clayton's at 7.2. Vanessa Wimberly, she's good, by the way, at 9.4. They've got Anaya Bishop. I think they're talking about her being an Indiana All-Star, averaging 9.5 a game, just to show you how she can do a lot of different things. And then the girl I like is Isla Krager, about 6'1" girl, and she averages 8.7. So he's got 3 seniors and 2 juniors playing. They've been there before, and this year they get to play in the state finals. So congratulations to Hupp and Lake Central. College had a big game this weekend. Scott and I were talking about this. Kentucky goes to Auburn. Auburn's undefeated at home and comes away 70-59. Kentucky's playing a lot better right now.
Well, yeah, John Calipari was getting ready to jump off a bridge. He had lost some games that
they had lost 3 in a row at home.
Yeah, and he's not used to doing that. When the one and dones were the big deal, John Calipari was getting all of them. I don't believe that it's to the point that it was from the quantity standpoint of freshmen leaping into the NBA because of the fact that they're getting paid now to play.
And he's got a good group of kids. The problem they had from everything I was reading was they weren't playing any defense. They still act like it was an AAU game.
Yeah, you can't do that.
And he basically said, look, and he's in the last 2 weeks, things have changed. Their defense has gotten better. They've got people getting on the floor. Last week, Reeves had 22, including 3 6-pointers. Therio had 14. Dillingham had 11 off the bench. So, and anytime you've got Calipari on one side and Bruce Pearl on the other bench, it's going to be entertaining.
Yeah, I mean, Bruce Pearl has really come up through the ranks as an assistant coach at the Big Ten level at Iowa, I believe, and then took the head coaching job at the University of Southern Indiana.
Yeah, he was at Southern Indiana when one of my players was down there. Kenny Love was down there for 2 years.
Yeah, and wins every place he goes.
And wins everywhere he goes. So right now, Alabama's 10-2, Tennessee's 9-3, South Carolina's 9-4, Kentucky and Auburn both have 4 losses. So keep track of the SEC here for these next couple of weeks. It's going to be fun.
Well, it's the big time of the year now because of seeding. Who's getting into the tournament, seeding, and it's huge. I mean, games right now are huge. And when you talk about the NCAA tournament, as we stay on the college level still, this always happens, man. It always happens. Last week, Purdue, the seeding committee came out and said Purdue would be if it ended today, Purdue would be the overall number 1 seed in the NCAA tournament. And
what they do?
What do? They go to Ohio State
Sunday.
Jake or John? Is it John Diebler or Jake Diebler's the head coach?
Jake
Diebler is the head coach. Played at
John is
Valpo.
on staff at Bar.
Yeah, there's
John played there.
Brothers. The ones at Ohio State played at Valpo. Is that right, Scott? And then and then his brother that played at Ohio State is on the staff at Butler.
And we talked about this last week, Scott. I mean, Scott posed this question to us. Scott, do you have any questions for us this week by any chance?
I didn't get any listener questions. I'm leaving it open to the chat for text me or leave a comment and answer that question from earlier about the NBA All-Star game, or if you have anything nice to say about Purdue, I'd love to hear it because I don't really have a whole.
Oh no! I got a segment. I got the segment. Of course, I got something nice to say about Purdue.
A very popular segment too. by
Yes.
the way.
We're gonna get to it here shortly.
I have a segment, but I want to say that on last week's show, the question was posed to us: will Chris Holtman be fired during the season, or will they wait till the end of the season?
And that was on Monday night. We said no, they're going to keep him.
We said that they would keep him for the rest of the season, and obviously
later,
we were wrong, man.
2 days later,
he got the axe.
they showed us we didn't know what we were talking about.
He got the axe. He's getting a nice little buyout where.
I read that. What was his buyout, Scott? Was it 12 mil? Was it 12 or 17 million? I can't remember.
12, I believe, sounds right.
Have we done the Magic Mind commercial? Because I was listen. I was getting ready to compliment you on all that knowledge because you weren't reading that information on Lake Central. You had it stored in your brain and you were rattling it off what happened last year. And I thought to myself, is Pat taking Magic Mind and just didn't tell me? I didn't know.
I backed
Promo code Ron for 20% off.
No, hey, Magic Mind, man. // Ron 20%. I got some. I got an order.
That's
I got it
funny.
in starting tomorrow.
Well, we talked just real briefly about that. Let me mention. We just mentioned Butler. Butler has hit the reality wall. They've lost 2 here recently.
Well, you went and saw them play last week, right?
Well, they lost Tuesday night, and then they turn around and lose this weekend to Creighton. So Butler's back in the pack now. They're 7-8, and it's not going to get any better. They go to Villanova tomorrow night. Now the big game tomorrow is in the Big East is UConn at Creighton, and they're up the top. Those are the 2 of the top 3 teams. UConn's number 1. Creighton's ranked number like 15, 16, something like that. And then next on the weekend, Butler has to go to Seton Hall. So they're going to be on the road 2 times in a row here. And they're basically trying to play just to get back up to 500.
I talk about your Butler experience. You were at the game. So who did Butler play?
I didn't go. I had to cancel because of my hip.
What?
I couldn't walk.
What?
I was flat on my back for 3 days
It's
this
the
week.
Butler Bulldogs.
Isn't that sad?
What?
I could not sit down long enough to go.
You should have got your dad's walker.
I could have. They did, but
What?
David didn't have a handicap sticker.
Let me just say this much.
But they did play Marquette. Well, Marquette spanked
That's
them.
what it was, Marquette.
Spanked them bad. It was 20-point ball game.
So
they probably did me a favor.
So let me just say this much. Here's the difference between me and PK. Not many differences. We're both curmudgeons. We're both old guys. We both have old souls. 2 years ago, the Bears played Philadelphia, minus 20 degrees at Soldier Field. Heck, you ain't going to that. You're going to catch pneumonia, blah, blah, blah. Are you kidding me? Chicago, Soldier Field. My wife and I bundled up. I would have took you in the wheelchair to Butler. I would have pushed it. You should have told me.
I have not heard. I keep getting, my roommate, David Cunningham. It was his tickets. Oh, he still calls me, and he's calling me every name in the book, and none of them are any good.
Well, yeah, because weren't you going to Fast Freddy's or something to eat dinner?
Yes. We had an afternoon planned, and I tried, but I'm telling you, it would have been ugly. It would have been ugly.
All right, folks, we move on from this segment. No, hey, get the Purdue thing up, man. Get Heck Loves Purdue, because Purdue goes and they lose 73-69. Brandon Smith, Fletcher Lawyer are 0 for 3 from downtown. Purdue's 3 for 9 from downtown. Just a game. Zach Edey has 11 shots, only 7 for 11, 13 rebounds, 22 points. But obviously
6 turnovers.
By Zach?
Yep.
Yeah, that's you can't do that, big fella.
Run your Purdue thing, Scott. Give us
You can't. I'm going to say something nice about Purdue, okay? And here's what I'm going to say. They go, and I mean, parity in all sports is a tough thing because just like Bodie Bender, Wawasee 6-14, right? And he goes to play for the conference championship, and they lose. Ohio State's struggling. Sometimes you get a quick bump when you change coaches. It's a different voice in the locker room. It's a different voice on the practice floor. The love flows. We love Coach Diebler. We love him. He talks nice to us. He doesn't cuss us out. He pats us on our back.
Right.
And so you get a little bit of a bump there.
The honeymoon.
Yeah, the honeymoon stage. That's a great way to put it.
They had a honeymoon this weekend. Let's see
so
how they do this
they come
week.
out and beat the number one team in the country. But here's my nice comment about Purdue. You're still in first place by a game and a half.
That's right.
You're 12-3. Illinois is 10-4. You play Illinois next week, I believe.
2 weeks from now, I believe.
2 weeks.
Yep.
But you're still in first place in the Big Ten. And whoever's going to win the Big Ten will get a number one seed. I'm pretty sure of that. Historically, that's kind of been the case, right?
Yeah, it sure has.
And so it's just a matter of regrouping. It is so hard to go through a complete season, whether it's on the high school level, whether it's on the college level, and run the table and have your guys ready to play every single night. When you're in the Big Ten, and I don't care if you're playing Rutgers, I don't care if you're playing Indiana, I don't care who you're playing, if their record isn't good or whatever, the capabilities for upsets happen all the time. And when I got to know Rick Majerus, the late, great Rick Majerus talked to me about scheduling. I was coaching at Anderson, and we talked about scheduling. And he said, heck, you can't schedule. I mean, to have the number one schedule in the state of Indiana, the toughest schedule, I mean, what does that get you? I don't think that gets you anything. And he told me that. He said, you got to build your schedule to you where you have an opportunity where your team doesn't have to play its best and you still have a chance to win. And I think that's the hard thing at the college level because the conference scheduling is they tell you when you go play whenever. Right. You don't get a chance to schedule it.
Well, I'm just looking here. Look at the teams that have beaten Purdue. Northwestern is right now fourth place with 6 losses. But here's Nebraska with 7. And then down here at the bottom, Ohio State's 8-10.
Yeah, so I don't know if Coach Painter says, guys, you weren't ready to play. You stunk it up. I don't know if that's the case, or I don't know if just Ohio State just brought the level of their game up like 15 notches.
Here's what I'll say about Ohio State. As a guy that I fell in love with college sports because of Greg Oden and Mike Conley, and that's why I still cheer for Ohio State, even though I went to Purdue. So this is always the weirdest game of the year for me too, where it's like, yay, no, yay, I'm happy, I'm sad, whatever. Ohio State's roster is very talented. They have a lot of very good blue chip recruits on their roster. And I had mentioned to Dad even before the year started, I said Ohio State will probably be pretty good this year, make the tournament. Next year, they're like Final Four talented. They're very, very good, but Chris Holtmann just couldn't put it together coaching wise. And I think, and what if people did watch it and watch the whole game, I think what you saw was obviously a rejuvenated team, but they were put in positions where their talent could actually do something, where you had a guy like Jamison Battle, who I believe is the Big Ten's best 3-point shooter. He actually got to shoot it, and he made like 4 in a row and pushed the lead out to 12 at one point in the second half. And then you get a guy like Bruce Thornton that scored the first like 8 points for Ohio State. I mean, these guys are so talented. They just couldn't put it together.
The one guy didn't score at all in the first half, got in foul trouble, and then came out and lit it up in the second half.
Yeah, it was Jamison Battle.
Okay. Well, Heck made a good point, too, that here's Diebler on this first game. So everybody's in love with the assistant coaches. Now let's see what happens in week number 2.
Yeah, no, I mean down the stretch here. Let's see how how it rolls out here, because it's always easy. It's always and I don't say it's easy. It's easier being in that third or fourth seat. Because in the back of your mind, an assistant coach, you're always saying, "Oh man, we should do this. Oh man, we should do that." And sometimes you don't say that to the head coach because the head coach, I mean, whether he has, whether he has this arrogant thing about him, or he doesn't want to take ideas from your assistant coaches, but like I would say, Pat, what do we need to do? And if Pat said, heck, this offense sucks, man, we need to change this, I would probably listen to Pat. And but when you're sitting in that assistant's coat or that assistant seat, sometimes those comments never come out. But then you move over 2 chairs, and then it's a different deal. And now Chris Holtmann has been a great head coach, man.
And he'll still get a
he coaches brains out at Butler, coaches brains out at Ohio State, and just I don't know. It's chemistry. It's something that just wasn't right for the last couple of years, and we'll see what happens. But Mike,
so if you're Ross Bjork going into the summer, who you calling? We had this question. What was it last week? Who's Ross Bjork, the new AD, calling? Is it? I don't think it's going to be Jay Wright. I think Jay Wright's too happy doing TV. But I mean, do you guys think that Ohio State's a premier enough college basketball job that they can pretty much call whoever they want and offer a blank check?
I think it is, but I think you have to wait and see what happens on this bump with Diebler and see where he keeps this team, because there've just been countless number of guys that have got their chance, and then they've had the interim tag removed, and their career started out. You
just never know. Well, we'll find out.
My contention though is Jake Diebler's never been a head coach anywhere, and you don't cut your teeth and get your first head coaching job at Ohio State in any sport.
Yeah.
Well,
I'm sure. I think he guaranteed himself a mid-major job.
Yeah, but you don't know. I mean, you don't know. Deshaun,
I'm calling Jerome Tang.
I mean, Deshaun Foster is an assistant coach, a football coach, and just got the head coaching job at where.
I'm drawing a
blank. This is my magic
UCLA.
mind. UCLA was on the staff with Chip Kelly. Was an assistant coach. I mean, hadn't cut his teeth in any other college football program. Was never a head.
UCLA football is a lot of it not even comparable.
So we'll see. And speaking
if it was UCLA basketball, I would say that's a crazy hire.
Speaking of Mike Conley, just signed an extension, man. The ageless wonder. The ageless wonder is just a great basketball player. In all those years at Lawrence North, Greg Oden was the big man. Greg Oden got all of the stuff, but Mike Conley,
he was the motor.
He drove it, right?
He was.
I have a fun fact about Mike Conley.
Tell us.
Did you know he's never gotten a tech in the NBA?
Interesting.
I think I heard. Yeah, he's when Titus talks about him on his show, he'll talk about Mike is the nicest person to ever walk the planet. And I think Mike had gotten a tech maybe one time, but then he got it. He appealed it and he got it removed. So Mike Conley has never had an NBA technical foul.
If Mike Conley ever signed with the Golden State Warriors, they ought to room him with Draymond Green then.
Oh boy!
And see if some of that could rub off on Draymond Green. Hey, back to college basketball for a second. Last Valentine's Day. That's
Day. Right.
I took my lovely wife, Sweet Monica, and
saw the Irish play.
I saw the Irish play, and one of our ex-players at Mishawaka, Raheem Brayton, made the team as a walk-on, so he got me great tickets. I sat next to Al Rhodes and his wife. We had a great evening, and I saw Notre Dame win its second ACC game in a row, beating Georgia Tech 58-55, and I will say this much: I don't think Notre Dame has the bigs to be competitive in Division I basketball like they want to be. But I will say this much: Marcus Burton, the ex Indiana Mr. Basketball from down the road, Penn High School, can get a shot anytime he wants at 5'10". He's so quick. He can burst it, stop on a dime, and leave change and elevate and hit that 15-foot jumper anytime he wants. He is the real deal, and I thoroughly enjoyed watching Notre Dame play. I enjoyed watching Micah Shrewsbury coach his brains out, and his staff. But here's the thing that I came away with. Saying, and by the way, Marcus Freeman was in the first row watching the game, had one of his kids with him. It's great support when you see the head football coach right there cheering his brains out for you. But here's what I'm going to tell you. That place wasn't even 25% full.
I was going to say you could see in the background, there was nobody there. Did they have the upper balcony bleachers even pulled out?
Yeah, no, they were pulled out, but I mean, to me,
there were no students there. That's
to me,
for sure.
It's ACC basketball, and there should be people supporting the Irish. And the problem that I have, and I know, you know, that he gets his recruits in there. They become really good. They're at the top of the league. They're playing Duke. They're playing North Carolina. That now those games are going to be freaking sellouts.
Right.
And I hate that. I hate fans that just jump on board when you're winning, because that Notre Dame team that he had on that given night on Valentine's Day, they played their freaking hearts out. And that place there should have been more people there watching those kids bust it and beat Georgia Tech. And Georgia Tech wasn't by any means a great team either. Matter of fact, one of Notre Dame's other conference win was at Georgia Tech this year. But I thoroughly enjoyed that to the point where I'm talking to Sweet Monica and I'm saying, why don't we get season tickets, man? Why don't we come and watch them and support them? But I thought, I mean, if I'm watching some other games, so we're coaches, right?
Right.
So we don't like to throw other coaches under the bus, do we?
Oh, I don't.
No, because people could have thrown us under the bus 100 times.
Yes, we've been there.
So all this stuff about IU and Mike Woodson, I don't like to throw anybody under the bus, but I will tell you this much: if IU played as hard as Notre Dame with an undermanned roster did, if IU played as hard consistently as Notre Dame did, IU would be one of the upper echelon teams in the Big Ten.
Well, and I was going to make the point, we were talking about Ohio State earlier. Ohio State and IU, I think, are both in similar situations where they have a lot of talent underachieving, and every once in a while a spark gets lit somewhere and all of a sudden they play very, very well. IU right now they're just going in the wrong direction, and it's like a snowball going downhill. Can they get it stopped? Because I thought this weekend I was not impressed. I watched the game yesterday, and they're the tallest team. They're one of the tallest teams in the country.
Yeah,
they've got a 7-footer. They got 6'10". They got 6'9". They're taller than they were last year, but they can't rebound.
Well, so Northwestern statistically is the worst offensive rebounding team in the Big Ten, and they come in and get 14 offensive rebounds against IU. Now you can't blame it on Khalil Ware, the 7-footer, because he goes for 22 points and gets 16 rebounds.
Yes, went and got it.
But Renault and Mabake.
Even Woodson even said that Renault had an awful game. He couldn't get him out of the game quick enough. He fouled out before he could get him out of the game.
Yeah, and Northwestern attempted 28 free throws, and I don't. And Scott talked about this before and did the chart about Northwestern's ability to shoot free throws. Scott, talk about that for a second, or their ability to get fouled.
Yeah, so the stat was 2 weeks ago, and I don't know how the graph has shifted for this thing. It's a website called, I think it's just called College Basketball Analytics. You can Google it, sign up for an account, it's free. But the gist of it is Northwestern fouls the most, so they're the most physical team in the conference, and they get fouled the least, so they shoot the fewest amount of free throws game to game. And then in this one, Northwestern was 22 of 28 from the free throw line. IU was 12 of 21. So I mean, IU's free throw percentage was garbaggio.
Yeah, well, and you're talking about playing against a team that fouls the most, and you get to the line, and I say only 21, but only 21 times.
Well, right, and Purdue shot what 40 against Northwestern last time.
Take the ball to the rack, and you don't, and you have the tallest team in the league. Renault is 6'8". No, I'm sorry, 6'9". Mabake is 6'8". But I contend this: when you're looking at IU and you're looking at their personnel, I don't think they have the perimeter players or from the guard position. I think Trey Galloway is just a tough, hard-ass competitor, but I don't think from the caliber of guard play in the Big Ten that he would be a starting guard maybe on anybody's team. He kind of reminds me of an Alex Caruso type that plays for the Bulls, that he defends well, he'll take charges, he throws his body on the court. But I think IU, when they put this team together and they put this recruiting class together, and I know it falls on Hood Schifino, because at that point they never thought that he would be a one and done. And I don't know if Hood Schifino, if he had it to do all over again, would have stayed at IU, would have received more NIL money, because he's not busting a grape in the NBA right now.
And the X-Man.
He was a lottery pick, though, so he got a good signing bonus.
Xavier, was it Johnson?
Yeah, he's like
got a bad elbow.
He's been on the ball club 10 years.
Yeah.
And he still leads the league in ejections or technicals.
But Galloway, you mentioned, he had 7. There you go. He had 7 points. He had 7 points. And but he had 12 assists. He was 2 for 7. Again, I keep remember back to the Billy Donovan thing where he said, it's a 40-minute game and you take 7 shots. How long does it take to take 7 shots? Like 2 minutes? So what'd you do the other 38? Well, Galloway has 12 assists. He only had 2 turnovers. That's a pretty good ratio.
Yeah, but they don't get anything out of C.J. Gunn in that game. He plays 10 minutes.
And Cooper Kupp, he's a freshman. He played 31 minutes.
Yeah, and scores, 8 points?
Yeah. So, and he's a shooter with 8 points.
So people are going and at 14 and 11 and 6 and 8 in the league. I don't know. I mean, you can hit a hot stretch, and IU can hit a hot stretch. People are saying that Woody needs to go and all this stuff. Well, I don't know. I don't like saying that.
They've got a home game Wednesday, and they play Nebraska.
Give them a lifetime contract.
They play Nebraska on Wednesday, and then Saturday they go to Penn State. So we'll see. Hey, Missouri Valley. We were talking about Indiana State.
Can I tell you one thing real quick?
Tell us one thing real quick.
Just one.
Jalen Hood-Schifino was picked 17th. According to some, it's called Sport Track. I think they do a good job of tracking a bunch of stuff. According to this, his salary this year is $3.7 million.
Could he have made that much at IU?
No, he wouldn't have made that much at IU. He might have made $1 million, but and it's kind of the same thing. He's better, all right. He's better, but Blake Wesley. I mean, Blake Wesley, a South Bend Riley product, plays for Notre Dame as a one and done, goes to the Spurs. He ain't busting a grape in the NBA. Now he's making some money because he was a first round pick.
Well, during the All-Star break, guess where he was? He was at Riley getting his jersey retired.
Yeah. So here's the question.
He's not down there playing in the futures game.
No.
He's up here.
No. And here's the question. And I would love to be able to get a hold of the representatives for those two players and ask them straight up. So what is it? Is it the fact that you got cash, or is it minutes and playing time that you really wanted? Because it's kind of the same thing when a college player has a choice. He can go and he can sit on the bench at a Division I school. He can be a little fish in a big pond. Or he can go and play in a Crossroads League at a Grace, who's the number one rated school in the country, and average 35 points a game and play 38 minutes a game and love playing. So it's always that question. If you had a chance to come back and you were going to play 38 minutes a game because that's what you love to do, right?
Right. I agree.
Or go sit on the bench and be the number 12 guy for the Lakers, or go sit on the bench and be the guy who's
with the Spurs and bounce back and forth in the G League.
Yeah. Or play at Notre Dame. You're not going to make $3 million, but you might make 750 G, more than you and me make in 10 years.
And get another year toward his degree.
Yeah, I mean, more than you and me make in 10 years.
For heaven's sake.
I think with a good agent, though. I mean, like I've got the website pulled up for Blake Wesley. His contract was 4 years, $12.2 million. I mean, that's
how much of that's guaranteed?
I don't. All of it.
Yeah, okay. No, the NBA contracts are all guaranteed. Yeah, I mean the guys.
That's life changing. I mean, it's generational. You're not going to get that anywhere else other than pros.
Yeah, so I agree.
Yep.
And it would be the same thing probably with Hood Schifrino. He's going to have a little bit more.
Instead of 4 years, it took him 1 year to get that. So congratulations, good for him.
Yeah. But I go back again.
Is it minutes played, or
is it minutes played, or is it
he's got a
cash?
Bank account.
Is it cash?
I know.
I know, and maybe it would be different for me.
Maybe
for me, I love flying, but as long as the paycheck clears, I don't care.
Yeah, well, that's I don't know. I mean, I went to Manchester and could have played probably at some other places, but I played, man. Every day I freaking played, and I got minutes in games. And at the end, when I was a senior, and the last day for me to take that jersey off, I was freaking crying, man, because I couldn't play anymore. I couldn't play in games.
And see, mine was just the opposite. I was at Butler, sitting on the bench, but it was paid for. And it was
and you got a Butler education.
I got a Butler education. I had two younger brothers, and I had a dad that had told me, he says, look, you're not going anywhere because said I can't pay for all three of you. So I knew that part of my job was to keep my butt there and keep my grades.
Yeah, but why didn't I call you? Say, PK, you're going to get minutes with the Manchester Spartans, man. You're going to
have gone to Manchester. I could have gone to Anderson.
There were chicks everywhere, man.
I could have played probably.
Are you going to go to VMI?
Yeah, I did. I got recruited to go to VMI to play football.
Oh,
but I did not. I wasn't real wild. Remember, that was still back when Vietnam hadn't ended yet.
I know.
And I wasn't real wild about the 2-year commitment that you had at the end.
No, I know, and I get all of that.
That was the military part. But
you would have been an officer, Pogue.
Yeah, and I get all of that generational wealth stuff. I do get that. But I don't know, man.
It was right next to William and Mary. With the big statue of Robert
William and Mary who? There. What was their last name?
That was the name of the college.
Oh, William and Mary. Okay.
And Robert E. Lee statue with his big horse and all that. It was over in Roanoke, Virginia. Hey, real
Traveler
quick,
was the
we need
horse's
to get
name.
moving. Missouri, yes, it was Missouri Valley. Indiana State's tied with Drake right now at 13-3. Wednesday night, Indiana State goes to Valpo. Belmont's at Drake. Quick, what town's Drake in?
Drake is in Omaha, Nebraska.
No, it's not.
Where? No, it's in Iowa.
It's in Des Moines.
Des Moines, Iowa. And the S is silent.
Yes. And Saturday they play Illinois Chicago's down at Terre Haute. And Drake's at.
All right.
I wrote down Northern Iowa and just.
All right. So ISU will tear up Valpo, and they'll tear up UIC. So ISU will now be 15-3 in the league. So on ESPN, there's a great special on the head coach at Indiana State. Came from a D2 program, I want to say, was originally a great high school tennis player who wanted to be a basketball player, and his dad told him, man, you got to stay with tennis. And he said, no, I want to do basketball. And he's now the head coach at Indiana State. Indiana State has a 6'10" post player by the name of Avila, maybe Desi Avila or something along those lines, who is getting some comparisons to Nick.
Jokic.
Nikola
Jokic.
Jokic.
Yes. Now, obviously not
Magicmind.com/Ron.
/Ron, but who's getting some of those comparisons, but and obviously not to the point of him.
It's
But
just
he's
his
a
physical-
big that can
he's-
handle it.
and he's got these big Coke bottle glasses. He's got his big Bob Hiddle glasses.
Yeah. So congrats for
you Anderson people
ISU,
know what I'm
man.
talking about.
I mean, they've had a tough week, lost a couple, but
You're going
congrats
to be busy.
to ISU.
You're going to be busy with the NAI this week, right?
Yeah, I got two. I got a doubleheader on Wednesday at IUSB and a doubleheader on Saturday at IUSB. The CCAC conference. The Crossroads League is really good. Grace is number one they were number one in the country. I see they're 25-1 overall. Really, really good. Scott Moore, the brother of Matt Moore, who's the head coach at Warsaw, is the head coach at Grace. Just does a great job. Greg Tonigal is the head coach at Indiana Wesleyan. They're 14-2 and 23-3. That is a great
It's good
league.
basketball.
And Bethel 9-7 in that league, 18-8. Bethel's got one of the greatest guards in NAI basketball, in a former Penn standout, Drew Lutz.
He'll be an All-American, won't he?
He will be an All-American. I mean, he gets into that J as quick as anybody I've ever seen get into the J.
This is the last week of the season for your NAIAs. So they've got a game Wednesday, they got a game Saturday, and then the following week
Their conference tournament starts.
when the high school boys are in sectional, they start their conference tournaments.
Yeah, and then the CCAC with IU South Bend. Scott Cooper does a great job. They are in second place in the league at 14-4. Roosevelt has run away with it at 17-1. So there's obviously no chance to get that number one seed, but you'll get that number two seed, and almost be assured if you can play well with Olivet Nazarene at 13-6 to get a shot at Roosevelt in the conference championship game.
And they've got a couple of home games this week for you people locally. Olivet Nazarene is third. That should be a good game Wednesday night. Olivet Nazarene from over at Bourbonnais is here in South Bend to play IUSB. And then Saturday, Judson's in town. Judson's over in the Quad City area.
North Judson's now in the
No,
CCAC.
nice try.
CACC.
Yeah. This is Judson College. They're and that's from I've been over there. It's like Davenport.
Yeah,
It's in the
no.
Quad City area.
Yeah, no, and Scott Cooper's got some South Bend flavor on that
Yeah,
team
here's,
with Dejan Barney, with
Petty's from Washington,
Jalen
Quentin
Petty.
Columbus.
Tez Columbus from Adams, transferred from Manchester. Dejan Barney from South Bend Riley, who grew probably 10 inches. He's 6'9". He's really, really
Got
athletic.
A couple kids from Berrien Springs.
Really, really good. And Scott Cooper does a great job of coaching. We got about a minute to go on some basketball, but next week's show will be a big basketball show because we'll be heading into the sectional the next night.
Yep.
Next Monday, maybe we'll get Alex Daniels, maybe we'll get Robbie Berger on some of the, and Marion's on quite a run. I said it when Marion beat Penn 31-28. They had 9 games left. And I told Robbie, I said, if you beat Penn,
They haven't lost since, have
you
they?
can run the slate out here,
Right.
and maybe tie with Riley in the NIC for the conference championship. Now I believe they have John Glenn and somebody else left.
Yeah, I've got that written down. I was
And-
just going to mention real quick that
and could run that out.
there you go.
And could run that out.
Oh, they're right there.
Who am I looking up? I'm on Harold's website right now.
No.
St.
It's
Joe-
Marionette Adams.
Marionette Adams.
And then John Glenn on Tuesday night.
I've got that game. I'll be at that game.
Yeah, and so
I'll be at Adams on Friday night.
Robbie can win his last 9 games, and then he drew South Bend Washington in the sectional opener.
And then the winner of that of the South Bend sectional, I think, plays the winner of Tippy Valley in a
Yeah.
1-game regional.
Yeah, and that's a regional that you can obviously win.
Yeah.
And so again, it sets up well for Robbie, as Robbie was 4-8,
Mhm.
and now is 14-8 or
Yeah.
13-8.
Yeah.
So
They
so
run a hot.
14, you got it right.
yeah, so we'll have a chance now to next Monday get a couple of coaches on and talk about the sectionals and get into high school basketball.
Yeah. And real
next
quick
week.
here, just north of the border, a lot of us had a chance to watch the Brandywine Benton Harbor game last weekend too. Michigan starts their playoffs on Monday up here in Edwardsburg, which is just across the border. They host Edwardsburg plays Lakeshore, and Niles plays Dowagiac on Monday night next week. And then Benton Harbor will play the winner of the Edwardsburg Lakeshore. Benton Harbor is 20-1, and they're one of the highest ranked teams in the state. Yet they go to Brandywine and got beat. And so Brandywine shares the conference with them. And then Bering Springs will play the winner of the Niles Dowagiac game. In Division III, Buchanan and Bridgman play. Brandywine will play the winner of that. They go over to White Pigeon and play. And White Pigeon plays Cassopolis. And those games are all Monday night, which will be a week from tonight.
All right, man. Tony Letcher, Health Markets Insurance, are one of our main sponsors. Give Tony a call, 574-307-8882. Hahn Funeral Home, the great Pat Hahn, who we hooked up with on the beach in New Smyrna, Florida. Hahn Funeral Home, 505 West 8th in downtown Mishawaka. Frick's Driving Services. They're the best. You want to learn how to drive? Don't listen to me. Listen to Patrick J. King right there.
I got you covered.
And the Black Sedan Band, Bar Louie's, just great people for helping us put this show on and being our sponsors. We're very, very thankful to you. We will look forward to hanging with y'all next Monday night.
Monday night, we'll do a lot of high school basketball. We'll probably get the crystal ball out and get the Funkin' Wagnall jar and do the Johnny Carson
on the back porch of Funkin' Wagnall,
and figure out when we will pick some winners next week.
And we want to thank the great Scott King, who's in Denver, producing this show for us. His ability with the graphics and doing all of that is phenomenal. And any increased viewership that we have, and we have a lot of increased viewership now, is Scott's response. I mean, he's responsible for that. So we thank you, Scott. Have a safe flight back home.
Kind.
Have a safe flight back home, and we will see y'all next week.
Yep. Tell Scott real quick on your way out. Tell people how you're breaking some of these things up and how they can watch this or listen to us here in the future at their leisure.
The live show will be on YouTube basically as soon as we're finished. And then I'll cut up certain segments, stuff that I think people will want to watch again, maybe try to push that 4,000 views again. And because of my clickbait video title that I did 2 weeks ago.
Views on you're like a celebrity nationally.
And then I forgot to mention to you guys before we started, I talked to one of my connections that we may get one former major leaguer and another AA ball player next week to talk a little bit about baseball.
Baseball next week too.
Yeah,
so next week might be star-studded.
So maybe see if you can push that out to the following week, because the following week all of the MLB teams will be big time into the exhibition baseball games. Next week we will be hard on basketball, and I will try and get a hold of Rich Donnelly, who was a Major League Baseball third base coach for 50 years. And in 2 weeks, maybe we can do a baseball show in 2 weeks. So see if you can get your guys maybe set for 2 weeks.
We can do that. I mean, we can do 3-hour shows too. We got nothing else to do, right?
Well, this one was an hour and a half show, and our food's getting cold. So
that's right. All right, I'll play the outro.
You're the best, man.
Right,
thanks, Scotty.
Right. Talk to you guys next
Bye,
week.
buddy.
Your daddy don't rock and roll. Your mama don't dance and your daddy don't rock and roll.